In a galaxy ruled by fear, one stolen message becomes the spark that can light up the war. Star Wars Episode IV: A New Hope begins with a world already broken. An empire controls planet after planet with military force, and anyone who resists is hunted down. But hidden inside that darkness are a farm boy who dreams of more, a princess who refuses to give in, an old warrior carrying the memory of a better age, and a smuggler who only cares about money until the fight becomes personal. What starts as a small rescue mission turns into the opening strike of a rebellion. Destiny does not arrive quietly. It arrives with ships, blasters, sacrifice, and a choice between fear and hope. The movie opens above the desert world of Tatooine. A rebel ship is being hunted through space by an enormous Imperial warship. The difference in size tells the whole story before anyone says a word. The Empire is huge, cold, and relentless. The rebels are outmatched and running. When the Imperial forces board the ship, they are led by Darth Vader, a towering figure in black armor whose presence feels like a threat all by itself. He is calm, brutal, and completely in command. The rebels are overpowered fast, but before the ship is fully taken, Princess Leia Organa hides a stolen message and the plans to a terrifying Imperial weapon inside a small astromech droid named R2-D2. She sends him away with another droid, C-3PO, hoping the information can still reach someone who can use it. The two droids escape in a pod and crash on Tatooine. That is where the story shifts toward Luke Skywalker, a restless young man living with his aunt and uncle on a moisture farm. Luke is good-hearted, impatient, and stuck between obligation and longing. He helps with the farm, but his eyes are always on the sky. He wants to leave to join something bigger to matter. Luke ends up buying the two droids from scavengers who had captured them, not knowing they're carrying the most important secret in the galaxy. While cleaning Ardu, Luke accidentally activates part of Leia's hidden message. He sees a desperate plea meant for someone named Obi-Wan Kenobi. The image is brief, but it is enough to pull him in. Ardu then escapes in search of Obi-Wan, forcing Luke and C-3PO to chase him into the desert. Out there they are attacked by hostile raiders and then rescued by an old hermit named Ben Kenobi. Luke soon learns that Ben is actually Obi-Wan Kenobi, the man from Leia's message. This is the first time the movie opens the door to the deeper history behind everything. Obi-Wan tells Luke about the Jedi, an order of guardians who once protected peace in the galaxy before the Empire destroyed them. He tells him about the Force, an energy that connects all living things and can guide those who learn to trust it. He also reveals that Luke's father was once a Jedi Knight and that Darth Vader betrayed and murdered him. Obi-Wan gives Luke his father's old lightsaber, and in one scene Luke's life changes shape. What was once vague longing now becomes personal inheritance. Obi-Wan asks Luke to come with him to Alderaan and help deliver the plans to Leia people. Luke refuses at first. He still feels trapped by duty to his aunt and uncle. That refusal ends quickly and cruelly. When Luke returns home, he finds the farm destroyed and his aunt and uncle dead, killed by Imperial troops searching for the droids. In one terrible moment, the world he knew is gone. Luke has nothing left to stay for. Grief pushes him into motion and he chooses to leave with Obi-Wan. They head to Mos Eisley, a rough spaceport full of smugglers, criminals, and people living far outside the law. It is there they meet Han Solo and Chewbacca. Han is a pilot and smuggler, quick with his mouth, suspicious of causes, and mainly interested in getting paid. Chewbacca, his Wookiee partner, is strong, loyal, and much more expressive than his silence suggests. Together they own the Millennium Falcon, a ship that looks worn down and patched together, but moves with surprising speed once it is in the air. Han agrees to take Luke, Obi-Wan, and the droids to Alderaan for a large payment. He does not care about rebellion or politics. He wants money and a clean exit from his own local troubles. Luke is stepping into the story for idealistic reasons, Obi-Wan for duty, Leia for resistance, and Han for survival. They are not a natural team yet. They are just the people available when the galaxy starts to close in. While all of this is happening, the movie shows what the stolen plans are really about. The Empire has built the Death Star, a massive battle station with enough firepower to destroy entire planets. It is not just a weapon. It is a statement. The Empire does not want obedience alone. It wants terror so absolute that resistance becomes unthinkable. Grand Moff Tarkin, the officer overseeing the station, sees this weapon as the perfect tool for ruling through fear. Vader works beside him, enforcing control and hunting the rebellion with the same cold focus he showed on the opening ship. Leia is taken to the Death Star and interrogated, but she refuses to betray the rebel base. Tarkin responds by using the station to destroy Alderaan, wiping out an entire planet just to prove the Empire will do exactly what it threatens. The war stops feeling like raids and arrests. It becomes total. When Han and the others arrive where Alderaan should be, they find only debris. The planet is gone. Before they can fully react, the Millennium Falcon is pulled into the Death Star by a tractor beam. Suddenly, the rescue mission becomes infiltration. They are inside the enemy greatest weapon with almost no plan and very little room for error. Once aboard, Obi-Wan senses something that unsettles him deeply. Vader is here. The two men are tied to a past the movie only hints at for now, but the weight between them is obvious. While Obi-Wan goes to disable the tractor beam, Luke, Han, and Chewbacca discover that Leia is being held on the station. Luke insists they cannot leave without trying to save her. Han protests, mostly because it sounds suicidal, but eventually gets dragged into the plan. The rescue itself is chaotic, funny, and constantly on the edge of disaster. Luke and Han disguise themselves as Imperial soldiers, bluff their way through hallways, get caught, and end up in a firefight that throws the whole station into alarm. When they finally reach Leia, she is not the helpless captive Han expected. She is sharp, angry, and more capable than the people rescuing her in that moment. Instead of waiting to be saved quietly, she grabs control of the situation and helps force them out of a trap. Their escape through the Death Star keeps getting worse before it gets better. They end up in a garbage compactor, nearly crushed, while monsters and walls close in around them. The only reason they survive is because Ardu manages to stop the machine remotely. Even then, they are still trapped inside the heart of the Empire, with stormtroopers closing in and time running out. At the same time, Obi-Wan reaches the tractor beam controls and disables them, but before he can rejoin the others, he comes face to face with Vader. Their duel is one of the most important scenes in the whole film, not because it is flashy, but because it feels ancient and personal. Luke sees them fight from a distance and watches in shock as Obi-Wan allows himself to be struck down. Yet instead of feeling like defeat, the moment carries strange calm. Obi-Wan seems to understand something Luke does not yet know. The heroes escape the Death Star, but the victory is incomplete. Obi-Wan is gone, Alderaan is gone, and the Empire now has a tracking device on the Falcon. Han thinks he has simply pulled off the best escape of his life. Leia realizes immediately that the Empire may have let them go on purpose. She is right. Tarkin wants the ship to lead them straight to the hidden rebel base. The Falcon reaches Yavin 4, where the Rebel Alliance is gathered. This is the first time Luke sees the rebellion not as an abstract idea, but as real people fighting under impossible pressure. The stolen plans are analyzed, and at last their value becomes clear. The Death Star has a weakness, tiny and difficult to hit, but real. If a fighter can fire into a narrow exhaust port, it could trigger a chain reaction and destroy the station. It is a desperate plan, but it is the only plan. Luke joins the rebel pilots for the attack. This matters because the farm boy who once stared at the sky now gets to step directly into the war he imagined from a distance. Han, meanwhile, takes his reward and prepares to leave. He tells Luke the rebellion is not his fight and that staying would only get him killed. For a while it looks like Han will remain what he began as, a selfish survivor who comes close to heroism only to pull away when things get too real. The final battle is one of the most iconic endings in film because it combines spectacle with emotional clarity. The rebel fighters race toward the Death Star while the station moves into firing position over the rebel base. If they fail, the rebellion ends right here. The pilots launch in waves, flying through trenches on the station surface while Imperial gunners and Vader-own fighter squad hunt them down. One by one, rebel ships are destroyed. The odds feel impossible. Luke holds his place in the attack formation, but he is young, frightened, and trying to do something almost no pilot could do. He hears Obi-Wan's voice guiding him, telling him to trust the Force rather than rely only on the targeting computer. This is the moment where everything the movie has been building finally meets. Luke inherited his father's weapon, lost his home, found a cause, and learned there is more to the universe than what he can measure. Now he has to believe it. Just as Vader closes in behind Luke and the last chance seems about to vanish, Han returns. He could have left, but he does not. In the final moment, he chooses people over profit and loyalty over self-interest. He blasts Vader wingmen, clears the shot, and gives Luke the opening he needs. Luke turns off the computer, trusts the Force, and fires. The torpedoes hit. For a brief second nothing happens, and then the Death Star erupts from within. The explosion tears through the station and destroys the Empire's most terrifying weapon before it can fire on the Rebel base. Against every expectation, the impossible plan works. The ending is simple and deserved. The surviving heroes return to the base and are honored in a ceremony that feels larger than medals alone. Luke is no longer a dreamer on the edge of someone else's story. Han is no longer a man pretending not to care. Leia is no longer a prisoner fighting alone inside enemy walls. Together, they have given the rebellion exactly what the title promised: a new hope. What makes A New Hope endure is the clarity of its emotion. Luke does not begin as a chosen hero who already knows who he is. He begins as a lonely young man who wants meaning. Han does not begin noble, he grows into it. Leia is not waiting to be rescued, she is resisting from the first scene. And Obi-Wan, though he leaves the story physically, gives it spiritual direction all the way through. By the end, Star Wars Episode IV: A New Hope becomes more than a battle between rebels and an empire. It becomes a story about the moment people stop living under fear and start acting on faith, loyalty, and love. And when that final celebration rises after so much loss and danger, the movie lands on a truth that still gives it power. Hope is built by people who refuse to give up when darkness seems bigger than everything else.